Good afternoon, everyone. It's our pleasure to have with us Professor Dr. Sangram K. Sri Rao. Sir is Professor Department of Aquatic Environment Resource Management, Faculty of Fisheries Sciences. And the topic chosen by the resource person is importance of water and soil quality parameters in relation to fish health. And please start, sir. Sangram, sir, please start.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I wish you all to be healthy and fine in this pandemic COVID situation. Now also we are in another problem. West Bengal, Orissa in as is coming, and we are facing that. Anyhow, in this 21 days training program or topic, recent advances in fisheries and agriculture technology for sustainable rural development. The topic has been selected for me is importance of water and soil quality parameters in relation to fish health. I know you all are academicians and researchers, and for you all this is very basic and fundamental subject, but it is very critical and dynamic because the fish used to grow in such an environment or aquatic environment where there are lots of parameters, and parameters not only are restricted to waters, the parameters are controlled by air, also by the soil. So sometimes it is sometimes it becomes very critical to understand. Generally we know common parameters and we used to talk about it, but when problem used to come, it used to be very difficult for the for academicians, researchers also to meet to the problems or to address to the issue. So I have selected this topic. Of course, I know you all know much more about these things, but let us have a refresh on the mind about the course, about the topic. This is the importance of water and soil quality parameters in relation to fish health. And you know, fish means it used to live in water, and entire of his life history used to be in water. Like it used to breathe, it used to feed, it used to grow, it used to excrete its waste, it used to maintain a salt balance, and it used to reproduce. Everything in that ecosystem. It does not use different types of systems for its grower like this, that. Okay. So in this case, where everything there, the excreta is there, its feed is there, and everything is there. So to understand the physical and chemical quality of water is critical to a successful aquaculture. That's why it becomes, because you know, we all used to talk with the DO. We know for DO we are having so many solutions, starting from aerator to nowadays so many medicines, chemicals are coming on. But still DO is the most important critical minimum critical point for a aquaculturist, for a successful aquaculturist. Okay. So as well as water, soil also is having a very vital role, because once without treatment you are going for aquaculture and you are putting the water in your pond or in your culture system, then it is impossible for you or for the farmers to look into the soil because it is covered with water. So whatever you have to do the treatment, or whatever you have to take the statement, the treatment or any action on the soil, it used to be before your culture practice started. So pre-management studies will be there. So you have to make the soil very conducive for the aquaculture practices. And because from the soil itself, because the water used to be on the upper surface of the soil, so there is a very good relationship, because the nutrients will be released from the soil, the waste materials will be deposited on the soil. Water and pH, water and soil, they are having the pH and temperature control, etc., etc. Even if the soil quality and texture, their porosity, etc., etc., because you cannot go for the project anywhere. So soil, just equivalent to the water, soil is having much more importance for successful aquaculture, because the chemical and biological processes occurring in the surface layer of the pond soil, it very much influences the water quality in aquaculture. It used to control, sometimes it used to control the water quality of the aquaculture. So understanding not only the water quality but also the soil properties, it is very much useful for aquaculture. So very few basic things I will discuss with you. Of course, you will feel that these are the very common things, but still let us have a discussion, because sometimes these common things also used to create some problem. Create some problem. Then when we are going fast, my phase of discussion is water quality parameters. In this water quality parameters, I have divided it into four subheads, like your physical parameters, chemical parameters, biological parameters, and some micronutrients, etc., etc. So let us have a discussion. I know you know much more thing. So but still let us have morphometry. You know what is morphometry? It is the structure, it is the shape and size of the pond. And you know there are different types of ponds: circular, rectangular, square, is like this, that. So many because this shape and size also is having a much more and the depth of the pond also is having the effect on water quality and also on the productivity. Because you see, it is needed to evaluate the erosion, the nutrient loading rate, the chemical mass, heat content, thermal stability, biological productivity, etc., etc. So morphometry also used to act as an ideal parameter for your success in aquaculture. And generally, we used to consider as rectangular shaped water body with a depth of 1 meter. We used to be conducive for our aquaculture practices. These are different types of different shape of the pond. And then comes to the light, another one. Because you see, light, though it is a physical factor, but it is having much more important, because it is related to photosynthesis, the productivity. It used to maintain the temperature of the water body. It used to help, or it is the main key factor for distribution of organisms. Means your entire niche will be utilized. Otherwise, if that role will not be there, then certain niches will be overloaded and certain niches will be very much vacant. So it plays an important role, major source, and generally for natural water bodies, and most of the, even if artificial water bodies, also our ponds, etc., etc. Solar insolation is only the main major source of the light. And once again, it is having a much more role. Its penetration used to help in photosynthesis. So the penetration of light, that should be well, and which used to depend on your water quality and water color and turbidity. That I will go afterwards, water color and turbidity. And also light controls the oxygen level and product distribution of the water body. Those I have already told you. It used to help in distributing the organisms also. Then comes to the water color. It is another physical property of the water. Because the farmers, particularly the lay farmers, where there is no science or there is no knowledge, they used to have a successful farm, to be a successful farmer by seeing the water color, because they are having the experience. Like now we are studying about the clouds, etc. But in village, people can see the cloud on the sky and they can tell yes, rain will come. Like that, they will see the color of the pond, they will tell us this pond now we can release the seeds, or we can get better production, like that. So it gave, because the color mainly used to give the promotion of phytoplankton, or because most of the colors are the reflection of the plankton growth. But some of the colors are there, if that is not for the plankton, that is for excess of plankton, then that will be harmful for our culture to be successful, like that. Light and bright green are considered, as far as freshwater ecosystem is concerned, blue-green algae or green algae. Particularly, they used to help in increasing the productivity. So ecological significance is, it is the indicator of primary productivity. It increases the diesel oxygen content, which is the byproduct of your photosynthesis, and decreases carbon dioxide and ammonia. And also it used to stabilize the water quality. Okay. But the point is, if the color is due to phytoplankton, zooplankton, like that, because color may be for other things also, organic particles, for mud, for turbidity, also for different types of pollution, also color used to change. Then that time, that color is not conducive. Particularly the golden or yellow brown colors are due to the diatom growth, and green is for phytoplankton, and brown is for certain zooplanktons are there. Muddy sand or clay particles are there, but black, brackish green, or dark brown, red or yellow are not good for fish culture. The color is this color is either due to excess growth of planktonic growth or bad pond bottom or acidic in water like that, or even if red color iron in water and death of phytoplankton. Okay, that of phytoplankton which used to release a toxin, so phytoerythrin. So this in this type we have to take care of the color and we have to go for the remedy, and then only we'll go for the culture. Some of the ideal colors, and here are some harmful colors for the aquaculture practices where your turbidity used to increase and the fish used to die. Then comes to another important factor, most important factor is the temperature. As because the fishes are ectothermal, or because they used to depend on the surrounding temperature, so they used to get the heat from the surrounding. And ideal range for your aquaculture practices, ranges are there. So many ranges are there. It may be debatable, but generally it is 24 degree to 30 degrees centigrade. It is having a range. That does not mean that you cannot tell 35 degrees centigrade will not be successful. Okay, so direct effect on all the metabolic and it used to control the metabolic and physiological activities and the life processes like your feeding, metabolism, reproduction, breeding success, and movement and distribution of aquatic organisms, the fish growth and physiology, other physiology like that. They all used to be controlled by the temperature. They all everything used to be controlled by the temperature. So it is one of the important factor. Generally, you know how you have to measure the temperature, etc. And if the temperature is more or less, generally for circulation pattern in night helping water mixing with input, which is important for oxygen and nutrient circulation, temperature difference will be there. Then it used to affect the chemical changes in the soil and water quality also. Prevention measure, if the top surface layer is heated up, so you may follow aeration process or mixing process where the temperature circulation will be there. And sometimes the tree plantation on the bank of the water body to, if it is very much tropical area and heat is much more, so to control the temperature you can go for this. Comes to another physical property, which is transparency. Both the transparency and turbidity, they are the optical property of light. Both are important also, as because some used to give very good productivity or used to show indicate the productivity, and some may be due to the turbid or humic substance or mud like that, which is harmful for the aquaculture success. Transparency and is inversely proportional to turbidity. Transparency causes light to pass straight where turbidity scatters the light and reduce photosynthetic activities. And the particularly the substances like your plankton, either phytoplankton or zooplankton, both the phytoplankton and zooplankton, substandard particles, clay particles or colloidal particles, solids, etc. They used to make water turbid, hence prevent light penetration. Okay, particularly in case of suspended particles, what used to happen? They may absorb also considerable amount of nutrients like phosphate, potassium, nitrogen, etc. in their ionic form, which will not be available for phytoplanktonic production or photosynthesis. Okay, and you know how it used to be measured. It used to be measured by Secchi disk. It is an indicator of high fertility, and but the turbidity caused by silt or mud beyond a limit of up to 4% by volume is harmful to fish and fish food organisms. Okay, so in this case, the gill will be choked and there will be death due to the choking of gills, etc., etc. So increases photosynthesis and hence fish production. This is a benefit point, and gill clogging occurring, it is a negative point. If the turbidity is due to mud or silt, etc., you can apply alum. And if it is for plankton, excess plankton, then you can go for the filamentous algae, etc. You can go for the copper, copper sulfate, etc. You can apply and you can have a control over this. And you know how to measure the Secchi disk. It is a very common instrument to measure the turbidity. Another important parameter, it may be considered as a physical parameter, or sometimes we used to consider it as a chemical parameter also. It is pH. Which used to show the acidic and basic nature of the water and the optimum range for aquaculture. You know, it used to be from 6.5 to 8, because pH is such a thing. It used to control so many things. Its increase and decrease also used to be affected by so many parameters like carbon dioxide, etc., etc. And it used to control so many things, like in ammonium production control, etc. So many things used to be controlled. Okay. And pH level increases in daytime due to photosynthesis, as because they used to consume the carbon dioxide, and decreases in night due to respiration, where the byproduct is carbon dioxide, and particularly early morning it used to be much more. It affects the metabolism and physiological process of the fish. Suboptimal pH increases. What happens here? It used to be susceptibility, increase the susceptibility to diseases, increasing in mucus in the gill surface on the fish, damage to the eye lenses, abnormal swimming behavior, fin fry, poor phytoplankton and zooplankton growth, stress, and even it can cause the fish death. Even if it will be much more acidic or much more alkaline, it will cause the fish death. For alkaline water, you can add acid forming fertilizers, and for acidic water, application of the lime doses or like that. These are the common things. But still, some of the things are, because this pH is one parameter, it used to have the interrelation. It is having a multidimensional approach. It used to have an interrelation with so many parameters. So these are the physical properties to be taken care for a successful or sustainable aquaculture production. Then few chemical parameters, lots of chemical parameters are there as far as aquatic body is concerned. Here few common chemical parameters I have noted down, like your dissolved oxygen, free carbon dioxide, total alkalinity, hardness, like that. Dissolved oxygen is such an important parameter, and it is such a limiting factor also, because if you will have a diurnal DO measurement, you can see the graph. How it is increasing to a quite a very good amount concentration during the midday, and how it is decreasing down to minimum level in the early morning. So, and because without DO, no organism can survive, because it is the main element for any live biotic organism to survive, as because it is the main component of our respiration. This is the most critical and limiting factor. And it depends on temperature, partial pressure of DO, and photosynthetic activities. This partial pressure means whenever the DO, partial pressure of DO just above the water surface is much more, then DO amount used to increase on the water. And inside the water, it is the source is photosynthesis, and from the air it used to be by diffusion from the water, air, water interface, etc., etc. And for aquaculture practices, our optimum range used to vary from 5 ppm to 8 ppm. And it used to help in reproduction, growth, feeding, and obviously it is a major live soluble gas for respiration. Each and every living organism, including phytoplankton, zooplankton, plant, everything, they require this. And if at all preventive measures, if less DO is there, that everyone know that we may go for the aeration. Aeration may be by motor wheel or electric aeration, or you may have a disturbances in the water, or by water pump, etc., etc. Then the chemical methods are there also. For some chemical methods are there, aquaclean chemicals are there. Now lime also used to help in increasing the DO, KMNO4 also. These things we can follow. The problems are, if the DO will be more, because afternoon DO used to increase up to 12 ppm, etc. If the phytoplankton population is very good, then huge amount of photosynthesis will be there, so DO amount used to increase. So in that case, what will happen? There will be gas bubble diseases and gas embolism used to occur. If it will be less, then anoxic conditions will occur. Then at that time the fishes will come to the surface and they will start gulping the atmospheric DO. And even if for running water bodies like lake, rivers, etc., and big water bodies like lake also, it used to help in, if the DO deficiency will be there, then they will start migrating fish, attack of parasite. And here another thing, we are talking about this DO less and more, but main thing is, if you are having the organic load and DO is less, then what will happen? Main thing will be the BOD the biological oxygen demand will increase, and there will not be any degradation process. Then what will happen? The anaerobic organisms will increase. So there will be a disturbance in between the predator-prey relationship also. And these are few photos of gas bubble disease, etc. Then comes to another important gas, carbon dioxide, because it is one of the if you will go and study the water body, we used to go and we used to study carbon dioxide. What carbon dioxide? We used to study only free carbon dioxide. But in water, we are having three forms of carbon dioxide. In free form is there, it is in half bound form, that is bicarbonate, it is bound form in carbonate form. And carbon dioxide in night time, they used to be the byproduct by respiration, daytime they used to be consumed. So when carbon dioxide comes in contact with water, they used to form carbonic acid, which we used to help in decreasing the pH. Because I have given the hydrogen molecules will be released, and bicarbonate and carbonate will be there. So they used to make the water acidic, which generally used to be in, very much in early morning. Range should be less than 1 ppm. It used to have the effect on fish, like respiratory stress will be there and retardation of growth will be there, like that. Prevention measures are there. You have to regulate the feeding and fertilization and liming, and also liming, and because means your phytoplankton and zooplankton balance should also be maintained, and microphytes etc. they also should be controlled. And total alkalinity and hardness, the both are having the same range of, because both of them are having the metal ions of mainly calcium and magnesium. And particularly in case of alkalinity, also here also we used to, because we used to measure the bicarbonate alkalinity and carbonate alkalinity, and then we used to go for the total alkalinity, like that, and it used to be expressed in calcium carbonate. Ideal range used to vary from 60 to 300 milligram ppm. And it also, if much more will be there, then it will have a physiological stress, and natural feed also will decrease. Prevention measures, dolomite or if high, then you can increase the pH, etc. Like that. This hardness is the concern. The total hardness also, they both are like that. Range will be -50 to 300 or 7.2 to 300, like that. Mainly they used to have the physiological stress and growth reduction. Gypsum can be used for hardness maintenance. Calcium and magnesium bond with carbonates and bicarbonates, alkalinity and water hardness are closely interrelated. Like that, we are having the categorization 0 to 75 ppm is soft water, and 75 moderate, and more than that is hard water. And particularly in hatchery, we should be much more careful about the hardness, because otherwise, if the hard water will be there, then obviously the hatchery success will be failure. No success will be there. And so it is also one of the important, because certain areas are there where generally the hardness used to be nearly about 700 800 ppm, like this, that. So that case we should take care, otherwise the growth will not be very good. And another two pollution parameters like chemical oxygen, COD and BOD are there. What happens here? Range will be there always. COD will be a little bit more than the BOD, because here it used to break down the chemical compounds, including the organic load. Here the fish stock affected very badly, because phytoplankton production used to decrease. So these are the pollution indicators I told you. So what are the source of pollutions? Those should be properly treated, and then they should be released to the water body. Then only the COD and BOD can be controlled. Like that of BOD. Here you see the effect on fish is mainly it affects on the prey and predator relationship. Because what happens when the BOD is more and the condition will be anaerobic, so anaerobic organisms will grow. And then when anaerobic organisms will grow, then they will create the what will happen? They will create the less oxygen level, and like leeches and sludges, etc., etc. So obviously at that time, and other organisms will start dying, or they may not survive. So there will be imbalance in between the prey-predator relationship. And these are the BOD label. You see, it should be less than 10, or if it is 3 to 5, then it is quite good. Then dissolved solids. Dissolved solids are the in water bodies are useful parameters for productivity, because here you are having the nutrients and it used to help in electric conductivity like that. Here you are having the inorganic metallic ions and organic fats, vitamins and proteins, etc. are there. So they used to limit the productivity, but the increase in is not proportionate to the increase with the dissolved solids. Okay. So then certain biological factors, only 3 biological factors I have noted for the success of aquaculture: primary productivity, and then macrophytes and benthos. Productivity, it is the phytoplankton, particularly phytoplankton, who used to carry on the primary productivity. The secondary productivity also is there, but primary productivity is through photosynthesis, and here because that is very much when you are having a vast water body, and mainly you are depending on the natural food. So photosynthetic activity should be good, and productivity should be good, then only you are having a success in production. Then because the primary production will decrease, means the fish production also will decrease. And if it will increase means it is showing that your phytoplankton bloom or phytoplankton concentration is more. Then what happens, it will create the problem, it will go for the gill choking and like that. So in increasing case, you have to reduce the organic manure, like that. These are some of the cases where, though these are the food, but sometimes they will create the death of the fish. Macrophytes, you know better. So many types of macrophytes are there: floating, submerged, marginal, uprooted, rooted, like this, that. And what happens if they will not be controlled? Then first point is they will make the habitat unsuitable for the fish to grow, and they will consume much more nutrients, etc., etc. And very less space will be available for your targeted species. Microscopic forms of aquatic and wetland plants found in water bodies, and oxygen depletion will occur as a result of the fish are gulping, etc. And completely water body will be choked if they will not be maintained. Prevention measures, so many measures are there: chemical method is there, biological method is there, mechanical method is there, having herbicides are there, and also you are having some species like grass carp, etc. you can put and which can be able to control the macrophytes. Okay. Then benthos, it is actually a very great problem in sewage aquaculture systems, because the organic load used to be there, they used to grow like anything. The community of organisms that live in or they are the benthos, like that. They include the snails, worms, clams, crabs, sponges, etc., etc. They induces the chances of parasitism, and also used to affect the growth of the fish. Okay, so you can have certain fish also are there, like black carp, etc. there, which used to feed on this type of benthos. Also, you can go for the application of sodium chloride. But the main method of controlling this benthos is before stocking, before going for aquaculture practices. When the because once you have fill the pond with water, then it will be difficult to control them. So before going to that, you have to control, you have to treat the soil properly, you have to kill all the possibly benthos present there, then you can go for a culture. Then nutrients, because these are the most important ones for the productivity and for the maintenance of the aquaculture for good production. First one is the nitrogenous compounds. Because particularly the nitrogenous compounds like nitrates, they are much more important for the production and productivity. Plants and microorganisms convert inorganic nitrogen to organic nitrogen. Particularly the nitrate range should be 0.5 ppm and nitrate range should be 0.001 ppm. They used to help in production like algal bloom, and if much more will be there, then brown blood disease will be there. How it will be there, that description is there in next slides. They can be controlled by controlling the industrial and agricultural runoff to the culture units, because though they are required, but if their amount will be more, then it will be problem. Nitrate enters the fish culture system after feed is digested by fish, and then excess nitrogen is converted into ammonia, which is then excreted as waste, and then it used to be converted. It is a process of nitrogen cycle. Total ammonia, nitrogen, ammonia, and ammonium then converted to nitrate, and once further oxidation, they used to convert to nitrate. which is accepted by the plant. Nitrate in some cases also they used to be accepted. Otherwise, the non-toxic nitrate is used to enter into the food chain. Then this they used to break down to once again in the similar way. This brown blood disease, what used to happen? It used to happen occur in fish when the water contain high nitrate concentration. What happens here? The nitrate enters into the bloodstream through the gills and then turns the blood to a chocolate brown color. Hemoglobin, which transports oxygen in the blood, they combine with nitrate to form methemoglobin, which is incapable of oxygen transport. So this when the nitrate concentration will be more, though it is much more important, but it should be controlled. Its concentration should not increase. Otherwise, this type of problem will be there. So in brown blood, they cannot carry sufficient amount of oxygen. Then at that time, the fish will come to the surface. They will start gulping the atmospheric oxygen, and sometimes also death will be there. Maybe death will be there. Okay. And they also used to reduce the plankton activities because nutrient depletion in case of the lower temperature, nutrient depletion, cloud, or any other herbicide and insecticide treatments, etc. So in that case, they can result in less ammonia assimilation by the algae, thus increasing the load of the nitrifying bacteria like Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter, like that. So this is in between that nitrate and nitrate, one specific disease which used to sometimes kill the fish also. The symptoms of nitrate poisoning is fish gaps for breath at the water surface. Then fish hang near water outlets. Fishes being restless, and they will turn to tan or brown gills, and rapid gill movement will be there. Remedy, you can apply the bioremedy aqua. Some medicines are there, or you can maintain the DO level. Because nitrate will be converted to nitrate, which is non-toxic, so DO level will be maintained. Water exchange should be in high level, and application of salt could prevent also in bad situation. And that time nitrogen containing food you should control, and aeration should be increased. Then it is another limiting factor and much more important for the growth of fish, phosphorus particularly. And because the phosphorus is not available freely, it is a binding form, so its availability in water bodies are very less, but it is important for particularly plankton growth. Then it will enter into the food chain like that. So it used to be the limiting factor of freshwater. It affects the productivity of the aquatic ecosystem, and sometimes more phosphorus means it is responsible for eutrophic condition also. So in that case, you have to reduce the inorganic fertilizer, which will contain the phosphorus. The source of water should not come from the agriculture, because there also we are using phosphorus fertilizers, because it used to be available in your pond in three forms: soluble inorganic phosphorus, and soluble organic phosphorus, and particulate organic phosphorus. So so here also you see the phosphorus it is also interrelated with the pH. Okay, the pond soil is acidic, then phosphorus is unavailable. It remains in the compound form with zinc, aluminum, manganese, and iron. If pond soil becomes alkaline, then phosphorus also remains in the soil, in the compound. So it is available in neutral, or whatever your range is, that 6.5 to 7.5, like that. In that form, it will be available. So pH is having much more role for your successful production or sustainable production. High phosphorus condition, this is the condition because it is used to help in growth of the algae or phytoplankton. Carbon, it is one element or compound which is used by plants to form the sugar, starch, and cellulose, and major source is from atmospheric carbon dioxide, plant and material, etc. It used to affect the photosynthesis, and it can be controlled by reducing the organic load. These are some of the nutrients. Then comes to few micronutrients. For the success, these things generally we used to overlook when we used to go for any culture practice or for experimenting any water in the culture body. But when we are having a scientific culture system and we want a better production, so we should look into all those things. It is very less quantity, but it is essential for fish growth. Micronutrients are important for fish growth. These micronutrients generally are copper, zinc, manganese, cobalt, boron, and molybdenum. Addition of zinc can be highly beneficial. Zinc used to help in growth, particularly in silver carp and catla, those who are surface feeders and plankton feeders. Cobalt plays an important role in nitrogen fixing bacteria like rhizobium, like that. And then a higher survival of fish pond could be achieved by cobalt chloride, like that. Manganese plays an important role in photosynthesis and heterotrophic growth of plankton. Then copper is applied in aquaculture ponds to counter algal blooms and also to kill the organisms. So micronutrients are having much more, and when and because ultimately those are entering into the food chain, and human being is going to consume that also, that is going to pass through food chain to the human being also. Then comes to the dissolved gases, because few harmful gases are there which used to dissolve in water and in your aquatic system, and they used to harm the production process, or even if they used to completely spoil the production by killing the fish. Ammonia, the total ammonia concentration of it is in two forms: unionized ammonia and ionized ammonium. Unionized ammonia is more toxic to fish. Its amount depends on the pH. Once again, it is also depending on the pH and temperature of the water. Generally, ideal range used to vary from 0.02 to 0.05 ppm. It is having the toxicological effect of fish. More amount means it will kill the fish, and it is an indicator of organic pollution. It can be prevented by aeration and by plowing of pond bottom before culture system, by releasing the gaseous things. They can cause the gill irritation and respiratory problem. Higher temperature and pH level cause the increased number of ammonium ion to convert into gaseous ammonia, which cause adverse effect on fish particularly. Okay, so the to control the ammonia level, you should stop the reduce or stop feeding for few days, flush, and you have to go for a water exchange. Stock intensity reduction should be there, and addition of oxygen, reduction of pH level. You should this type of steps should be taken care. This is the effect of ammonia. They will kill the fish. Hydrogen sulfide, it is a poisonous gas. It used to be produced by anaerobic decomposition of organic matter, and it used to have a pungent or rotten egg smell, like that. Effect, it will be, sometimes it will cause the death of the fish. It can be controlling, preventing measures is the best method is with the water exchange, or liming you can do to control to some extent. Chlorine is, though it is very less available in your freshwater system, but still it is one of the gaseous, toxic gaseous thing. Because it used to be toxic if it will be more than 0.03 ppm. Particularly when your aquatic body is receiving the water from city water or like that, then it used to enter into the body, enter into the system. This is a table, general table showing the normal range of different parameters in freshwater, brackish-water, and seawater. Important parameters are noted down here. 19 parameters are there. Okay. These recent technologies for parameters checks, particularly right now, the wireless sensor network is has been developed to be used in aquaculture system. And on this, so many authors, they have worked so many things, and it is going to be successful. Even in production, productivity, all those things they are going to see. Okay, then this is a little bit about water quality parameters and their preventions. Right now, for water quality preventions, increasing DO or controlling that, so many commercial medicines, chemicals have been developed that can be used, but they are having negative effect and positive effect, and negative effect. And so many kits are there to test on spot testing of the so many parameters like conductivity, turbidity, etc., DO, pH, temperature, alkalinity, hardness, that has been developed. Then let us go to the soil quality parameters, because it is as important as the water quality parameters. Soil also is having some physical parameters and chemical parameters. They are having the soil color, which used to indicate the quality of productivity, and soil pH, texture. Whose texture it is much more important, because it is it used to show the nutrient load as well as the water holding capacity. Then organic carbon. Beside that, so other parameters also of the soil has to be studied, like available nitrogen, total nitrogen, etc., etc. Among the parameters, organic carbon is one of the most important soil parameter. Color, because by seeing the color also, the farmers, they can tell us this is a productive land or this is unproductive land. Okay, it is the condition. It used to show the condition of the soil, because we are having different types of soil. So many types of soils are there. So which soil will be suitable for aquaculture practice and which will not be suitable for aquaculture practice, because all of the soils cannot be suitable, and all the soils water holding capacity also is not good. So and also this color of the soil, this depends on the organic matter content, and this organic matter used to impact the properties like better aggregation and water holding capacity. Okay, and generally grayish color is ideal for your culture practice. pH also here, the soil may be acidic, alkaline, and neutral. Here also you are having neutral pH soil will be better. Like your water, it is 6.5 to 8. Here also same 6 to 8. Because most of the time, whenever you will measure soil pH and water pH, soil pH will be little bit less than the water pH. As because it is what it is a reservoir, dustbin. It is a reservoir. It is receiving all types of what organic material, etc., from the water column, and which is going to be deposited there. Acidic ponds also, yes, if acidic pond will be there, they will not respond well to fertilization. So because by knowing all those parameters before preparation of the pond, you can go for thoroughly, you can go and you can prepare the pond, and you can apply proper fertilizer or lime, etc., etc., and you can go for the further culture process. Soil temperature also used to act as, because depending on the texture, etc., temperature also used to vary. So temperature range also should be, and the soil thermometer also is there, by which you can go for measuring the soil temperature, because the soil temperature used to fluctuate from different soil levels. Like for agricultural soil, we used to have the soil temperature, which used to measure the temperature from 3 layers, from surface layer, mid surface layer, and lower layer, up to 30 centimeter. We used to put 3 thermometers and we used to measure. And here also, because accordingly, because that used to have the capacity or used to help in releasing the nutrients, etc., etc. Okay, so and it also used to influence the plant growth as well as microbial activities. So the ideal range should be 25 to 30 degrees centigrade, as your water temperature for the fish culture purpose. Texture, it is the most important one, as because without this, it used to tell you what is the water holding capacity of the soil. If your area is having less rainfall and evaporation rate is much more, then your texture will not suitable, means you cannot go for a fish culture practice. And ideal soil texture for aquaculture is sandy clay or silty clay loam or clay loam soils. And generally the best soil for aquaculture is about 20 to 30% of clay and similar amount of sand and silt, then only it will be a very good one for your culture purposes. Size of soil particles, these used to tell you about, because if you are going to have an analysis on soil, then you have to study the size and you have to go for the bulk density, what is the bulk density of what type of soil, because you need a sandy, clay, loamy soil. So you are having you should know the bulk density, which is the mass of the dry soil in a given volume. Okay. So these are the things to be studied for soil. And most important one, your organic carbon, because it used to give the soil which used to affect the plant growth and energy source for soil microorganisms, and it triggers the nutrient availability also. It is present in soil and soil organic matter. So it enters to the soil through decomposition of plant animal residues. And it is measured by percentage. So ideal range is 0.5 to 1% organic carbon, and because it used to indicate, and if more organic, and it also used to affect the soil color also. Okay. Then pollution, because your aquatic body may be polluted by 2 ways, either organically polluted or inorganically polluted. Organically polluted means when mainly biodegradable forms, but there are also inert non-toxic forms will be there, like your domestic sewage and food processing waste, plant and animal residues, when they will enter into the water body, so they will create the organic load will increase. So they will create the organic pollution, which will affect the fish in ulceration, gill disease, hyperplasia, and fin and tail rot disease, etc., etc. Inert pollution are chemical or inert fertilizers and used for inert plant nutrients like nitrate and phosphate, etc., etc. They used to affect the fish adversely. In that case, what will happen? Eutrophication will be there, much more growth of phytoplankton will be there. Then ultimately it will lead to the gill choking, and anaerobic condition will come, and then fish will come to the surface, and sometimes the fish may die. And also eutrophication is having some other negative impacts when the mass mortality of that phytoplankton will be there. They will release the toxic substances, sometimes the neurotoxins, etc., to the water body, and which will have a very bad effect to the fish population. Pond management, you know it. I will not go to this because if you will go, actually the point is, if you can have a better management, your production or your farming will be very much successful. Management means it should have a pre-stocking management and post-stocking management. Before stocking, what you have to do, how you will go for the pond preparation, how soil preparation, entire thing you have to do. You have to go for proper liming, etc., etc. Then starting into the pond, drying, plowing, all those things will be there. Eradication of weeds, manuring, chemical control of the herbicides, even if that snails, etc., bivalves or benthos, you have to control that. Then unwanted fish you have to kill by chemically or biological or anything else. Predatory insects you have to remove. Then you have to fertilize the pond soil. If like that, whatever the quality of the soil, accordingly you have to go for that. You have to go for a liming to make the soil, bring down the proper pH of the soil. Then go for the manuring, and then go for the stocking, etc. Then after stocking, you have to go for the water filling, then stocking, then post-stocking management. In post-stocking management, depending on how many fish you have allowed to, you have stocked, accordingly your water quality monitoring and environmental monitoring should be there, fish health monitoring should be there, feeding practices will be there. Particular fish and monitoring every day if you will do, then obviously you will be a good successful farmer, or because your topic is on sustainable rural development. So we may have the knowledge or we know the things, but rural people, they don't know many things. So we should train them in such a way that they can understand and they can do that. Always they cannot go for the high things, so they should be well acquainted for the normal things which they can do, how to maintain the environmental monitoring, how to feed, how to monitor the fish, some common technique, indigenous technologies, we should teach them during the feeding, in what stage, how many times of feeding, and what should be the feed quality, etc. Then pond environmental monitoring, particularly by seeing the color, transparency, pH, diesel or something they should have, and where they will know these things and they should know the range, then only that will be better for them. Now then fish health monitoring, in most of the situations, cultured fish are healthy even in the continuous presence of pathogens, because pathogens are there in gills or in skin, scales, etc. There it will may be visible in naked eye or may not be visible, but fish are healthy. So but when they will grow, it will create a problem. So daily observation of fish should be there, and sampling and examination of fish should be there. Pond quality and sanitization should be there. It will be a routine practice. So obviously, for a better success or sustainable aquaculture system, so both soil and water should be taken care. The importance should be given to both soil and water in same manner, and the parameters should be studied, and ideal they should be there. Then it will be very good for aquaculture practices, because unless you are a fish, you cannot tell by sticking your fin in the waters or what is the quality of water or soil. Okay, thank you very much. Hello, sir. Now we can have a discussion. I cannot tell that question answer. We can have a discussion, because I know there are some of the participants who can reply some questions very nicely, even if than me. So let us have a discussion. If any question is there,
please ask.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question, sir. Sir, how to control the high hardness in the pond bottom?
I have told him now dolomite we have to use. What is your name, please?
Sir, my name is Angshuman Manna.
And right now, what happens now, particularly for hatchery, etc., we are having a filter system. We are making the filter systems. Different types of filter systems are there by which we can control the hardness. Then we can use that soft water. So because now, even if in a home also we are using softening filter systems are available. So that will be in a bulk quantity where maximum water can be softened. Then we can use. So now so many devices have been developed. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question?
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Tell me, Baba.
Sir, how can I control alkalinity pH in after stocking the fish?
Alkalinity and
pH.
Because those things actually, listen me, those things actually we should do. We have to control after stocking only, because you see your culture practice will be for 8 to 9 months. So at that time, sometimes if the pH will change and alkalinity may grow, increase or decrease like that. So whatever you have to do during stocking only you have to do. And for pH, I have told you, if it is pH is in morning time particularly, it used to be acidic. Okay. You have to use lime, etc., which will control the pH. Okay. Are you getting me?
Yes.
And more pH, sometimes what happens, if it is possible, you can go for water exchange. And for alkalinity, we are using lime as well as dolomite also we are using. Okay. Hello.
Sir, one question, sir.
Yeah.
If pH is higher after stocking the fish, how can I control? How can I neutralize the pH level?
You see, generally, if any area how pH we are having a range, generally what happens, morning time we used to get less pH, generally due to the respiration process in night. Daytime it's increase is to such a extent, it is very limited, very less. But if it will be there, then we can go for acid forming fertilizers, or we can have the water exchange like that. We have to go for that. Okay. And acidic water means you have to go for the lime. Generally, pH fluctuation immediately in your pond system. Acidic pH sometimes it will be there. Higher side pH it will not be so frequent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Myself, Dr. Rajesh, speaking from College of Fishery, Pandragarh University.
Yeah. Tell me.
Sir, your presentation is very nice. Very important topic you have covered, but very fast you have gone. So
actually, you see what to do here. This is a very vast topic, but still I have not entered into the chemistry. Still, the slides are nearly about 80 slides, and I had been told that you restricted within 1 hour. So I was forced to be little bit fast. And I know that you all know something, so you can get it. That's why I became fast. Okay, so if you want, my phone number is there. You will tell me. I will send the complete PowerPoint to you. No problem.
Okay, sorry. This PowerPoint you shared.
You in a phone number. You ring me and give me your mail ID. I can send you. No problem.
Sir, you can
you drop your mail ID, sir. We directly participant cannot approach to you because we have a group directly. We are following the instruction. So
okay. All right.
Organization committee, Majid Nisar sir, you send all the PPT and contact number, email ID. I have some basic questions.
Okay,
You can
okay, sir.
reply to the invite by
Hello, sir.
sending the
Sir, hello.
PPT.
Sir, I am Anshman,
Just a
sir.
second. Just a
Sir,
second.
I
Yes,
have
sir.
a question,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
A small
Just a
question, sir.
second.
I want to know, sir.
Just a second. Just a second. Sir, you can reply with the PPT to the invite, and I'll make it part of the YouTube video, sir.
Okay, no
Okay.
problem. No problem.
Sir, I have a
Sir,
small question.
when sometime I have seen in the month of this January and February, basically in the winter season, a heavy growth of the blooms in the ponds.
Yeah,
So how to
yeah.
control it, sir?
No. You see, first point is sometimes in winter heavy growth used to be there because at that time, particularly some of the plant because actually they are what they used to do in natural water body, homeostasis used to be there. The plankton have been distributed in such a way that some will work in winter, some will work in summer. Like that, they used to maintain and they used to provide the food. But in winter, what used to happen? The consumers they used to be inactive due to the less temperature. So and at that time what happens, the transparency used to be there, temperature sunlight used to be there, so sometimes production used to be there. So and production used to be there, and if that will not be consumed, then sometimes it will be problem. And particularly I have given you, if it is a filamentous algae or like that, you can use copper sulfate, or you can use sometimes also alum, also Phatkiri, you can use that for controlling. Okay.
Copper sulfate or alum?
Yeah. Alum is not so much used, but copper sulfate with proper dose it is used for controlling the algal growth.
What will be the dose for 1 acre area?
Huh?
What will be the dose for 1 acre area to control the?
Not 1 acre area exactly. It will be copper sulfate will be 1 ppm like that. 1 minute. Sutanu is there? Sutanu?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sutanu, what is the dose of copper sulfate?
Copper sulfate, sir, in Bigha around 10 to. Sir, copper sulfate is around.
What should be the concentration?
It is 2 gram per 1,000 liter of water in case of water, because we have to calculate the area of the water as well as the water depth.
Yeah.
2
That
gram
means it
per
will
1,000
be
liter.
0.01 ppm like that, isn't it?
In approximately 2 gram per 1,000 liter of water for
2 gram.
algal control.
Okay. Thank you, Sudhan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. When the ammonia concentration, sir, is increased in the pond, how to control it?
Ammonia based process is you have to go for water exchange, and you have
Water
to control the feed also. You have to control the artificial feed, and you have to go for water exchange. Okay.
Okay, sir.
One thing,
Any-
let me tell to all the participants. Actually, we all are telling we are scientists, academicians, but there are lots of questions and lots of parameters and dynamism, and which we also used to face sometimes very much problematic to reply to farmers, because we sometimes used to be careless. Yes, this, do like this, that. But when we enter into the dynamism and we will enter into the chemistry, it used to be very much difficult to address the issue. So, being the scientist or academicians, we should know at least something about if the problem will be there, what to do. This is one of my request. We should know everyone, and because
Okay.
your field is diversified field, you people are from different fields. Because I asked to Sutanu because he is my colleague in my department. So I have told this is not a question answer section. This will be a discussion section. Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
sir. Nice. Anand, sir, you are in the West Bengal University. Sir, please can you help me? There is Anandamay Mandal is there.
No, sorry. He has expired 2 years already, 1.5 years ago. He has been expired by cancer.
Sorry. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. You have given a very good lecture, very informative, sir. I must appreciate your presentation from my side, from behalf of the participants, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any further questions? Please ask.
Hello, sir. I have a small question, sir. So actually, how to control the barnacles in the pond bottom after culture?
Barnacles, na?
Hmm.
Barnacles.
Yes, sir.
Barnacles actually are not the problem in freshwater. Okay, they are actually marine substances and they are very much sedentary. You will not find them barnacles in freshwater.
Okay, sir.
Okay. And
Okay, sir.
barnacles are marine creatures and they are very much sedentary and it is very difficult to remove them. They used to stick to the stones, etc. very firmly, cementing like anything. Okay. So, and they are not available in freshwater.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, will I stop the presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Any other question? Or we have gone to the exact limit of our time?
Yes,
Please
sir.
ask.
Yes. Sir, myself, Professor J.P. Manja from Fisheries College, Navsari Agriculture University, Gujarat. Sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, the ideal temperature for water quality parameter is 25 to 30. Okay, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
If in winter season, in summer season,
yeah,
it will be less than 25 and more than 25. So
yeah.
during this season, what we should take the precaution for maintain the water quality parameter, sir?
Sir, while I was talking about that also, I have told you this is ideal, but that does not mean that when 35 degrees centigrade will be there, we cannot culture. First point. Second point is when the temperature, surface temperature is to increase, we have to have a circulation, water circulation, then mixing of water will be there, then temperature will be controlled. Even if in winter also, if you go for a mixing also, temperature sometimes something will be rectified. But in natural water bodies, you cannot go for immersion heater or anything else. Okay, sir. So mixing process will help you only. And if your pond area is very big like this, that another thing you can do in the dikes, you can have the plantation which will provide some shadow. In summer, can also decrease the temperature.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I am happy in interacting with you, all the academicians and scientists.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. On behalf of the participants and on behalf of the organizing committee, we would want to extend our gratitude and sincere thanks to you, sir. Thanks a lot for being with us. And especially the presentation was very nice. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Let's join back tomorrow.